Now, this is the iiTTCAST, a special report. This is WD3. Now, today we have a very, very important story that really digs into the dark side of Tulsa history. And many people remember what is called the Good Friday shootings. Now, during that time, there was a lot of racial tension that was stoked because of two men who decided, for some reason, to commit some shootings and some killings that really affected this neighborhood. And we are here with a gentleman who was affected firsthand by these shootings, and he is one of two survivors of this incident. His name is Mr. Dion Tucker. Dion, for the iiTTCAST audience who don't know you, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
My name is Dion Tucker. I was born and raised in Oklahoma. I've been in this house about 41 years. I've been in Tulsa all my life.
Now, on that night, was that anything unusual about the night when this incident happened?
Just a normal night.
So, briefly give us a brief description. Don't want you to have to relive that horrible incident, but give the audience who are not familiar with the story a brief description of what happened that night.
We was standing on the porch. A truck pull up, ask me a question. I tell them down the street. The next thing I know, they start shooting. And just luckily, I was able to jump behind my truck and just get shot once.
Where did you get shot?
Right here in my shoulder.
Now, you were with a friend that night.
I was with my friend David Hall.
And Mr. Hall, he was also shot, correct?
Yeah, he got shot in the stomach.
And he did sustain some head injuries.
Yeah, he hit his head on the porch.
Now, you have a family, and you do have other family members who were in danger during that incident, who were here at the house, right?
Well, they come running across the street after the shooting, but they was already gone. My kids wanted to go chase them, but they decided to stay here with us.
And you didn't know these young men at all?
No, just two random white guys. Well, one of them was mixed, like he got Indian or something in it. But at the time, it was night. I didn't think nothing of it. I just thought some people wanted some directions.
Now, being that this happened in 2012, we do know some backstory how the two gentlemen were stewing over a murder of one of the gentlemen's father a year before. And for some reason, this is how he retaliated. Now, Mr. Tucker was one of the survivors. 3 others were killed in these incidents, and Mr. Tucker and his friend, Mr. Hall, were survivors. Now, during that time, you say there was a lot of attention, media attention around this particular event. Describe that for us.
It was a circus. Every newspaper in the world came down there for about 4 or 5 days. I couldn't come home because they was chasing me to talk to me.
And did you ever get a chance to speak to them and interview? What were the things that they were asking you, and who did you get a chance to speak to?
Well, I talked to some college people from Kentucky. They came and did an interview in the house. They ended up putting it on Netflix. Later on, that same interview, they put on Netflix. And the rest of them was just people from the news people trying to get pictures and wanting to talk to you. Just asking you what happened.
Now, you mentioned that you were on, there was some civil rights organizations that came down, and you even was on Al Sharpton's radio show?
Yeah, he put me on his radio show.
Now,
said he was gonna pay me and didn't pay me.
So Al Sharpton said he was going to pay you for his interview, and you didn't get paid.
Yeah, put me on his radio show.
So I assume that this was all surrounding the incident and right the recent aftermath of when this all happened. Um, who else was down here? I remember seeing some Jesse
Jesse
Jackson.
Jackson came down here, same time with NAACP. They all was together.
So all of the civil rights organizations pretty much
Came
presented
down here at the
themselves
church.
together. Okay.
Yeah, and said they was gonna put a fund up for us, which they did, and they kept the money. Al Sharpton, Reverend Jackson, and the NAACP all had something to do with that, because they was the ones that did it.
So not only did you have to experience the recovery. Now, before we get into that, your medical bills and your medical expenses, how exactly did they get taken care of?
The victims' compensation took care of that part, just by us being victims.
So it was separate from any fund
Yeah,
that was raised
the
for you.
NAACP and all, they didn't pay for nothing. They just raised the fund, saying they was gonna help us, and then they helped themselves.
Mm. Okay, so how were you made aware that there was a fund that was allocated for the victims of this horrific incident?
Well, it was a lady that worked for them. That was kind of like a whistleblower, but she didn't want to be involved. She didn't want to say her name, but she called down here from Wyoming, from where they at, and told me we got some money up there. And when we sent certified letters trying to inquire about it, that's when they shut down and took all the information. Now, if you go back and look at the NAACP, they branch is gonna start from after 2013, because that's when they shut it all down. They ran it for about 8-9 months, and when they left, they took all the paperwork, all the CDs, stuff, to where the NAACP had to start over. So if it's anything that got to do with the NAACP, it's gonna be after 2013. They ain't got no information for that, because they took it, because they didn't want to show nothing about where that money went. So they took all the information.
So have you spoken to
Yeah, I talked to the NAACP, the people that's down here that was puppets for the ones of the nationals. They just prolonged it to where they can get away with the money and strung us along so they can get away with it. That's what ended up happening.
So have you spoken to Mr. Hall, the other survivor?
Yeah, he was with me when me and him was the one did the certified letter and sent
Okay.
it to the nationals.
So
But
he
we didn't
shares
get a
his
response.
concern with you also about.
Yeah, he was involved with me trying to chase down the money, but they wouldn't respond to us.
So in the years since 2012, have you all received anything from charitable funds that were raised for the family?
No. They shut the account down and took it and quit. See, that's a voluntary. NAACP is a voluntary. They pay their little $25 payment. It's voluntary. So that's what they did. They volunteered to get into something and seen some money and stole it and quit. That's what they did.
So in the aftermath of this incident, have you incurred any other bills or expenses that are a result of this incident, of you being shot and your?
All the victim compensation paid for all our medical. But like I said, the fund didn't none of the families getting none of the money.
Have
They
you
took
had
it.
to seek any type of therapy or anything as a result of some of the trauma that you've gone through since then?
Well, they sent me to therapy, but like I say, the victim compensation paid for that. Anything that had to do with the shooting, the victim compensation paid for it, because we was a victim, and they had evidence that we was a victim, so they paid for it. But that was it. We didn't get no money.
So at the end of the day, who do you blame for for the family, for you feeling that you hadn't been compensated? And
Well, I blame that they use our situation to benefit themselves. When they come down here like they trying to help you, but it's really to help themselves. That's the problem I got, because they use our situation to help their pocket and left us with nothing. They didn't come down here to help us. They come down here to help themselves. And that's the problem I got. They use your situation to help them, but they come in like they trying to help you, but they crooks.
so we thank you for sitting down and speaking with us and allowing us to.
People just need to know, whenever them people come in, if they say anything about a fund, you better be on it, because they gonna take the money if you not directly involved in what they doing. They gonna steal it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Tucker, for sharing your story with us. Us at the iiTTCAST, we definitely appreciate the family, and we send our condolences to the victims of this senseless crime, and we definitely support the supporters, the survivors of this senseless crime. I would say that we appreciate folks like Dion expressing themselves and having their voice heard, because there's a lot of different incidents and a lot of good that these organizations have done in the past, and we'd like for them to continue to do good, and we would like to minimize any type of situation that Mr. Tucker has had to experience. So we at the iiTTCAST do support the victims of this incident, and thank Mr. Tucker and his family for sharing his story, and we say good evening and God bless.
Dub D on the flow. Yo, like a river, I'ma go. I deliver that dro. I'ma give her that run.
It's you again. When I'm not out taking care of business, I'm trending it with the iiTTCAST.
When you say I love that way, when you look into my eyes, got me shook, no lie. Babe, I'm hypnotized. I'ma clip that rose, I'ma spin that fire. Yeah, I'm the best in the biz. Yeah, all the rest just kids.